A wealthy patient lies motionless, feigning a coma, but when he catches wind of his nurse's heartfelt confession, the course of his fate takes a dramatic turn. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptic mingling with the lingering aroma of old money. All around, an endless expanse of white stretched out, enveloping everything in its ghostly embrace. White curtains billowed gently, white bedsheets lay untouched, and an eerie white silence enveloped the room. At the heart of the chaos, a man lay still, untouched by time for 10 long days. Elias Sterling, 33, heir to a storied luxury hotel empire, was a man who once ruled the boardrooms with an iron fist. Now, he lay motionless, a thin scar etched on his temple, the sole testament to the harrowing crash that had almost claimed his life. At least, that was the illusion the world clung to. Little did they realize the truth that lay hidden beneath the surface. Elias Sterling was very much awake, though the world around him had slipped into a shadowy silence. He was putting on a facade. Beyond the heavy glass door of his secluded hospital suite, hushed voices pierced the stillness, hinting at secrets just out of reach. "I'm telling you," came Victor's voice, Elias's cousin, slick-haired and perpetually overdressed, his smile lingering like a secret whenever he thought no one was watching. "This is our moment." The board shifts uneasily, a palpable tension hanging in the air. Now is the moment to act. If we hesitate, we risk losing it all. "Step inside," the voice dripped with an icy smoothness. Eleanor Sterling, the enigmatic figure who stepped into Elias's life as his stepmother. "No, Victor, we absolutely do not. Enter if you dare." We seize the reins. He stands exposed, a fragile figure in a world that feels relentless. His assets hang by a thread, exposed to the lurking dangers that threaten to unravel everything he has built. The board's patience was wearing thin, and the urgency hung heavy in the air as Victor faltered. Yet, the lawyer, Elias's estate attorney, remains unwavering in his insistence. Eleanor interjected, her voice laced with a chilling certainty that attorney won't be a problem for long. He stands steadfast in his loyalty, yet he remains ensnared in solitude. We relentlessly drive the story forward. Elias's fate hangs in the balance, teetering on the edge of consciousness, and if we can maintain the nurse's cooperation, this harrowing ordeal will reach its conclusion in mere weeks. Within the confines of the room, Elias's heart raced fiercely, a tempest beneath the stillness of his unmoving form. Indeed, it was true. A shadow of doubt lingered in his mind. The crash felt too orchestrated to be mere chance. A spontaneous journey to the Hamptons spiraled into chaos, marked by a torn guardrail, a car overturned in a violent embrace with the asphalt, and the chilling verdict of a non-traumatic coma. Yet, within a mere 2 days, Elias stirred back to life, his silence a heavy shroud that enveloped the room. Not just yet. Time was a luxury he desperately craved. He was consumed by the burning desire to uncover the identity of his betrayer, and now, in a twist of fate, he had grasped a fragment of the truth. The door slid open, releasing a whispering sigh that echoed in the stillness. Echoes of footsteps reverberated through the stillness, each step a whisper of anticipation in the air. "Take your time this time." Distinct, Elias felt the familiar pulse resonate within him, soft and soothing. "Proceed with caution. Calculated." "Lila!" As the first light of dawn broke through the curtains, a voice cut through the stillness. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling," it echoed, carrying with it a sense of anticipation and unspoken secrets. Her voice, though soft, cut through the silence with a clarity that demanded attention. No deceptive charm, only I remain. With a serene determination, she glided around the bed, her hands deftly checking his vitals, smoothing the blanket with care, and gently tucking his hair behind his ear. Each movement a testament to her unwavering focus. Her touch held no trace of pity. It was purely professional, yet beneath it lingered an enigmatic undercurrent that hinted at something deeper. Something within Elias stirred, an unnamed sensation that lingered just beyond his grasp. He observed her from the narrow gap of his barely opened eyes, careful to remain unseen as she moved about, unaware of his gaze. Her voice danced through the darkness, weaving tales that wrapped around the room. like a warm embrace. As she adjusted his IV, a soft melody escaped her lips, weaving through the sterile air like a secret lullaby. She saw him as a person, not just a hopeless case waiting to be saved. Yet, her silence held a weight that could shatter hearts. Unlike Eleanor, unlike Victor. "Your levels look stable today," Lila murmured, her pen gliding across the chart with a sense of purpose. "That's excellent." She settled next to him, a soft sigh escaping her lips heavy with unspoken thoughts. "I don't know if you can hear me," she added, her voice dropping to a whisper, laced with an air of secrecy. "Yet, I believe you possess the ability to do so." A mere whisper of an emotion. Elias felt a searing heat surge within his chest. Was she on the brink of revealing something profound? He listened intently, his heart frozen in anticipation. "Desperation drove me to accept this job, the weight of financial burdens pressing heavily on my shoulders." "That's not a crime." I refrained from probing too deeply, for life has a way of silencing curiosity. But now that I stand in this place, a new reality unfolds before my eyes. Whispers linger in the air around me, yet they feel all wrong. Her eyes flickered to the door, a silent question hanging in the air. "Your cousin slipped in yesterday while you were lost in slumber, or perhaps just pretending to be," he whispered into the phone, his voice low and conspiratorial, revealing that you wouldn't be waking up anytime soon. And the tone in his voice sent a chill down her spine. She swallowed hard. "I can't quite grasp the dynamics of your family, Mr. Sterling, but it seems they're eager to see you disappear." Elias's fingers trembled, a subtle yet electric movement. Lila remained blissfully unaware. "I should say nothing," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence that enveloped them. "Perhaps I should simply collect my paycheck and remain silent, yet I find myself unable to do so. Too much has been taken from me already. My journey into nursing began with a singular purpose: to make a difference in the lives of others. Regardless of your attention, I refuse to be complicit in a situation that allows someone to slip into the shadows simply because they are deemed inconvenient." With deliberate grace, she rose to her feet. "I'm going to start keeping 2 logs, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "One for them and one that reveals the truth." Elias sensed a long-dormant feeling awaken deep within his chest, a sensation that had been silent for years, now stirring to life. Lila tightened the IV line, her heart racing as she set a book down on the table beside him, the air thick with tension. "This evening, I will share with you a tale that is raw, a glimpse into the depths of humanity." She stepped out, silence enveloping her like a shroud, leaving the air thick with unspoken tension. The door clicked shut, sealing off the world beyond with a finality that echoed in the silence. In the hushed silence, Elias Sterling blinked, a deliberate and measured motion that seemed to stretch time itself. He would wait, but the moment stretched like a taut string, ready to snap at any second. The nights were when the silence roared the loudest. Once the final checks were completed and the cleaning staff had departed, Lila would lower the lights and take her place by Elias's bedside. In this stillness, the soft beep of machines punctuated the air, while the wind whispered secrets against the high windows of the private recovery wing. 2 weeks had slipped by since she accepted the assignment. For 2 weeks, she had been a silent observer of Elias Sterling, a figure who had once existed only in the glossy pages of magazines and the bold letters of headlines. Now, he lay motionless, a statue etched in sorrow, each breath a whisper of the pain that surrounded him. Yet, an unsettling feeling lingered in the air, a profound disquiet that gnawed at the edges of reality. It was the medications that caught her attention first. As the second week unfolded, she glanced at the chart, her breath hitching in her throat. The dosage of the sedative remained unchanged, even in the absence of any signs of agitation, seizures, or trauma. In truth, it had never been examined. Not even once. Then, the nutrition logs arrived, shattering the calm with their stark revelations. The visits from the physicians grew ever more infrequent, shrouded in an unsettling silence. The vitals were meticulously logged, yet they remained untouched, their significance lost in the shadows of neglect. Not a single visit from the speech therapist, the one who was meant to come every week, had ever materialized. And yet, an unsettling calm enveloped the crowd, as if time itself had paused, leaving no room for urgency in their hearts. Not a worry in the world, only the stiff nods of acknowledgement, and the chilling reminders to adhere to the rigid protocol lingered in the air. Having spent years in various care facilities, she had become attuned to the subtle, unsettling signs of negligence. Yet, this sensation was unlike anything else. A deliberate act. As dusk settled, she entered the room clutching her well-worn copy of The Little Prince, a cherished relic from her childhood, a beacon of light during the shadowy nights when home felt overwhelmingly dark. As she spoke to Elias, her fingers danced across the pages, flipping them with an urgency that hinted at secrets waiting to be uncovered. "You probably hate this book," she murmured, her fingers lingering on its cover as she set it down on the table. "You're a man of commerce, utilitarian." Amidst the bustling cityscape, the hotels stood like silent sentinels, each one holding secrets within their walls. Contracts lay scattered, inked promises waiting to be fulfilled, while numbers danced in the air, whispering tales of fortunes made and lost. The stakes were high, and every decision could tip the balance, drawing one deeper into a web. Yet this one has always captured my heart. A tale unfolds of a soul adrift, wandering through the shadows of uncertainty, only to discover profound significance in the most ordinary moments of life. With a swift motion, she grasped his wrist, her fingers pressing against his skin as she sought the rhythm of his pulse once more. Unwavering in its resolve, unyielding. "You know," she added, her eyes flickering toward the IV bag, a silent weight hanging in the air. "Yesterday, I sought Dr. Langston's insight regarding the dosage of your sedative. He dismissed me with a wave, as if I were nothing more than a fleeting thought. It was declared at the behest of the family. No changes made. There is no taper plan in sight. The same old routine, unchanging and predictable." Her voice sliced through the air, laced with frustration. "I chose the path of a nurse to guide souls toward healing, not to watch them remain trapped in their struggles." She rose to her feet, glided toward the window, and pressed her palm against the cool glass, feeling the world beyond. "Who are you really, Elias? Yet, I find myself increasingly convinced that you are more alert than anyone dares to acknowledge." Her fingers tightened into a fist. "I'm altering your protocol. Not everything is as it seems. Only a whisper of it. I possess the skill to navigate this without triggering any alarms. And if anyone dares to question, I'll bear the burden of blame." She pivoted, her gaze locking onto his. "But I cannot stand idly by and witness you fade away like this. I faced that darkness before, and I can't bear to step into it again." With a furtive glance around, she opened her locker and retrieved her notebook, the second log that held her secrets, and began to write, each stroke of the pen a whisper of her hidden work. A meticulous account of medications, reflex reactions, vital signs, and her personal insights. Unbeknownst to her, Elias's eyes flickered subtly beneath their closed lids. As the clock struck midnight, she emerged from the shadows, a thermos of chamomile tea in hand, and a blanket wrapped snugly around her shoulders, ready to embrace the night. "I should go home," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the heavy silence that surrounded her. "Yet sleep eludes me, no matter how hard I try." "He will." Once more, she settled beside him, her fingers deftly retrieving the book as she flipped it open to the first chapter. After a heartbeat of silence, she shut it with a decisive motion. Instead, she spoke, not to fill the air, but to unburden her soul. "I wasn't meant to be your nurse, you know," she whispered, her voice laced with an unspoken tension. "I found myself stepping into another's shoes." A desperate plea for help echoed through the line. At the very last moment, the original nurse withdrew, leaving a palpable tension in the air. I chose not to question it. Her voice trembled, breaking the silence like glass shattering in the stillness. "I believed it was destiny. At last, a job that offered the promise of financial relief, a chance to clear my school loans and reclaim my license. Yet now," she leaned forward, her elbows resting on her knees, anticipation crackling in the air around her. I caught a glimpse of Catherine's voice cutting through the air, her words lingering like a whisper in the shadows. In the dimly lit hallway, she believed I was taking a moment to rest. She whispered urgently, "We must keep him sedated until everything is settled." Victor nodded, his expression betraying nothing, as if the weight of the moment held no significance at all. Lila came to a sudden halt, her hands quivered with a palpable tension. "I arrived with the intention of offering my assistance," But now a chilling realization dawns upon me. I may have been brought here for a far darker purpose. To assist someone in their final moments. She gazed up at Elias, his expression frozen, betraying no emotion. I'm not sure if my voice reaches you, but I felt compelled to speak it into the void. Defiance surged within me. I simply won't do it. I refuse to be entangled in something so heartless. She rose with deliberate slowness, her voice a mere breath against the silence. In this uncertain moment, I stand by your side, unwavering, no matter if you ever return to consciousness. Her fingers brushed against his hand, a fleeting connection that sent a shiver through the air. You stand in the shadows, a whisper of reassurance echoing in the silence. You're not alone. And then she vanished into the night, the door whispering shut behind her. Within the confines of the room, a solitary tear escaped from the edge of Elias's eye, tracing a path down his cheek. He felt the weight of unseen eyes upon him, a presence lurking just beyond the shadows. Perhaps, just perhaps, the time was nearing when he could shed the mask he had worn for so long. Lila remained silent before the doctors, the hospital director, and the Sterling family, her lips sealed as if guarding a secret too heavy to share. She unraveled her life to him in fragments, sharing tales from her formative years as a nursing student, recounting the patients who left an indelible mark on her soul, the grueling shifts that nearly shattered her spirit, and the fleeting moments of kindness that became her lifeline. She spoke of her father, a reserved plumber whose unwavering belief was that true goodness thrived in the shadows, away from the gaze of an audience. All it craved was unwavering consistency. Elias strained to hear. He lay there, trapped in his own body, unable to move or utter a word. Yet her voice pierced through the silence, echoing in his mind. It transcended the mere sound of her voice. It held a truth within it. In a world steeped in betrayal, where every glance held suspicion, Lila Hart emerged like a beacon of hope. Each night, she slipped in a bit sooner, lingering just a touch more. She embarked on a series of subtle neurological stimulation tests, careful to keep her actions under the radar, just enough to gauge whether his body would react. She treaded the line between curiosity and caution, her heart racing with the thrill of the unknown. A subtle pinch on his palm, a delicate pressure on his eyelids, whispering sensations that danced through his awareness. One evening, as she carefully adjusted his blanket, she lingered beside him, leaning in closer, the air thick with unspoken words. "Elias," she breathed, her voice trembling with doubt. In the suffocating silence, a desperate plea hung in the air. "If you can hear me, show yourself." Just a flicker, a whisper, anything to break this haunting stillness. The stillness enveloped everything, a heavy blanket of quiet that seemed to stretch into eternity. With a heavy sigh, she shook her head, the weight of her thoughts pressing down on her like a storm cloud ready to burst. Perhaps it's all a figment of my imagination, a desperate yearning to cling to something that may never truly exist. Yet, in that stillness, his index finger stirred, a mere twitch, a breath of movement that sent ripples through the silence. Yet, it was undeniably real. Lila stood still, her eyes wide with shock, her breath trapped in her throat. She edged forward, her breath barely a whisper away. "Did you really just?" Once more, a slow, deliberate curl of his finger danced in the air, drawing attention like a spellbinding whisper in the silence. Lila stifled a gasp, her hands flying to her mouth in shock. In a sudden surge of emotion, she shot from her seat, the stool teetering dangerously behind her, on the brink of toppling over. For a few heart-stopping seconds, she found herself locked in a gaze with him, her chest heaving, breaths quickening, and her heart pounding like a drum. Her laughter erupted softly, a breathless melody that danced in the air, filled with astonishment and pure joy. "You can hear me?" she said, stepping back to his side, her voice a whisper that hung in the air, charged with unspoken tension. "Elias, are you hiding in there? You've been eavesdropping all along, haven't you?" With a trembling heart, she blinked away the tears that threatened to spill, her fingers stretching out to grasp his hand, seeking solace in the warmth of his touch. "Understood. Oh, we're going to take our time with this, aren't we?" One finger raised for affirmation, silence for denial. "Do you grasp that?" A moment suspended in time. Then another twist of his finger. Lila released a tremulous laugh, the sound quivering in the air like a fragile whisper of uncertainty. This is utterly mind-boggling. It sounds unbelievable, yet I stand firm in my conviction. Your words resonate with me. From that fateful night onward, nothing would ever be the same. A transformation swept through their daily lives. A fresh rhythm pulsed in the air, weaving a new language that danced between them. One blink, one twitch, one squeeze, each a heartbeat in the silence, a prelude to the unfolding drama. Yes, no, perhaps. With determination in her eyes, she unveiled a set of flashcards, her fingers deftly tracing the outlines of a basic alphabet chart. It was a painstaking journey, often riddled with frustration, yet Elias pressed on with unwavering determination. He yearned to take the plunge. Lila embodied patience, her careful demeanor wrapped in a warmth that drew others in like a comforting embrace. Her smile blossomed with each of his replies. She always allowed him the time he needed. She embraced his limitations, never allowing them to feel like burdens. As their eyes locked, an unspoken bond began to weave itself around them, growing stronger with each heartbeat. Elias immersed himself in the melodies that made her heart sing, memorizing the rich notes of her favorite songs. He savored the essence of her preferred coffee, each sip a reminder of her warmth. He envisioned her as a child, perched in the corners of the hotel where her mother worked, eyes wide with wonder as she observed the parade of lives unfolding before her. Each guest, a story waiting to be told. Lila uncovered secrets about him that he had never shared with a soul, not with words, but through piercing looks, subtle reactions, and the probing questions she would pose. He communicated in a dance of silence, twitching once for yes, remaining still for no. This life was never your choice, was it? One night she leaned closer, her eyes darting over his chart as her fingers delicately traced the edge of his sleeve, where his finger lay curled in a silent plea. Indeed, all you sought was tranquility, not dominion. Once more, a resounding yes echoed through the air. She settled into the space beside him, the air thick with unspoken words. A flicker of understanding ignited within me. Becoming a nurse was never my dream. It was merely a means to keep the lights on. I yearned to lend a hand, yet somewhere in the shadows of my journey, the instinct to survive eclipsed the essence of truly living. Elias's fingers twitched, yearning to bridge the distance between them, to grasp her hand in a moment that felt electric. Without a moment's pause, she seized it. I won't allow them to hurt you, she vowed. I refuse to be swayed by their desires. You're returning. We will bring you home. In that fleeting instant, after years of being just a name on a contract or a mere line in a will, Elias Sterling felt a spark of something more profound. In that moment, he discovered his humanity, ignited by the unwavering belief of another. Even when words failed him, with her support, he felt the fire within him awaken, ready to rise and confront the challenges ahead. In the days that followed, an undercurrent of urgency pulsed through every moment Lila and Elias shared, weaving an invisible thread of tension that bound them closer together. By day, Lila donned the guise of the dutiful nurse, meticulously logging routine notes, her hands deftly adjusting the IV, all while nodding with feigned politeness to Eleanor's patronizing comments and Victor's hollow displays of concern. Yet as darkness fell, she and Elias transformed into something entirely different. Not merely patient and nurse, but allies, co-conspirators and survivors bound by an unbreakable bond. She had etched his signals into her mind, a subtle twitch for affirmation, a delicate finger tap for denial, and the slightest shift in his breath when fear crept in. They were honing their skills with each passing moment. One evening, as she gently massaged his left hand to awaken the dormant muscle tone, her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. I know you want to expose them, she urged, her eyes glinting with urgency, but we need proof. Real proof. Real proof. We must tread carefully. Elias mustered a barely perceptible blink, a flicker of life in his weary eyes, then with a subtle tremor, twitched his finger once. With a swift motion, Lila extracted a minuscule device from her pocket, a sleek, pin-sized camera, a borrowed treasure from her tech-savvy friend. Though it lacked the sterile insignia of a hospital, it was unassuming yet powerful. boasting high resolution and a history of safeguarding more than one whistleblower from peril. "I'll place it in the medication cabinet," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence of the dimly lit room. In the shadows, where whispers linger and Cirque Mason readits thrive, Victor and Eleanor find solace in their clandestine conversations. Believing themselves unseen, shadows flicker as hushed voices weave through the dimly lit corridors, their clandestine instructions slipping into the ears of the night staff, like secrets carried on the wind. It's time for the truth to be unveiled, for someone to witness the hidden machinations at play. Elias's eyes sparkled with a silent understanding. Under the cloak of darkness, with the weight of secrecy heavy on her shoulders, Lila stealthily entered the medroom, convinced that the shadows concealed her from prying eyes. With gloved hands and a heart pounding in her chest, she carefully concealed the camera within the shadowy recess of a ceiling panel, just above the fridge that held the illicit substances. The motion sensor sprang to life with a sharp, mechanical click. Now they lingered in suspense. 2 nights later, the scheme bore fruit. Lila slipped back into the house, the dawn light barely breaking through the curtains, her heart racing as she hurried to grab the camera before the cleaners arrived. With her headphones snugly in place and her laptop aglow, she sat in the break room, her heart racing as she absorbed the footage before her. Initially, there was only silence, a heavy stillness that hung in the air, until the sound of footsteps broke through, echoing ominously in the quiet. Victor's voice echoed in his mind, a warning that she was becoming too entangled in the web of their unfolding drama. He muttered. "That nurse, she's no fool. Let her ask her questions," Eleanor replied, her voice steady and unwavering. "As long as she keeps her pen away from the reports, we'll be safe. Moreover, our task will soon reach its conclusion. We hold our breath for 2 more weeks, and then we unleash the DNR motion." Lila stood motionless, her breath caught in her throat. "Elias has no living will," Victor revealed, his voice heavy with the weight of the truth. "Could that trigger alarm bells? We shall seize a spoken command. I have already engaged in conversation with the liaison from the hospital board. They evoke a deep sense of empathy. They crave the chaos to vanish. What about the lawyer? I'm delving into it. He will be excluded from the upcoming meeting." Then came the words that sent a shiver down Lila's spine. "The only thing we can do now is keep him sedated," Eleanor whispered, her voice heavy with the weight of the decision. "I demand that nurse be gone the moment the paperwork is complete. She has witnessed far more than anyone should ever have to endure." Lila sat in a heavy silence, her hands trembling, as the final frames of the video flickered to a close. She meticulously saved the file 3 times. First to her USB, then to an encrypted cloud server, and finally on her locked phone, each action steeped in a sense of urgency and caution. With Elias by her side, she meticulously crafted a message, each word carefully chosen, ready to be sent into the unknown. Whom can we rely on? That night, she leaned closer, her laptop glowing softly as she sat by his bedside, her voice barely above a whisper. Elias blinked, his eyes fluttering shut for a heartbeat before opening again, as if trying to shake off a dream that clung to him like a shadow. Lila paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. 2 quick blinks. With a determined breath, she opened her notebook, her fingers dancing over the pages until they landed on the carefully crafted list of names he had painstakingly guided her to create, letter by letter. At the pinnacle of the unfolding drama stood Mason Reed, Elias's steadfast personal attorney. Loyal and discreet, she found herself cast aside by the family in the wake of Elias's tragic accident, her fate now intertwined with the shadows of their secrets. "I'll send it to him," she declared, her voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of urgency. "We will find our way forward." Under the cloak of darkness, she uploaded the video, accompanied by a brief yet tantalizing message. "Mr. Reed, I am convinced that you are the sole individual who ever genuinely supported Elias Sterling. He lives, and what unfolds here is nothing short of a crime. This footage reveals the undeniable truth. We implore you, lend us your aid." Lila Hart stood at the edge of the world, her heart racing with anticipation. With a decisive click, she sent it off into the unknown. With a firm grip on Elias's hand, she leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. They won't win. His fingers brushed against hers, a delicate whisper of connection. It was more than enough. As dawn's first light crept through the curtains, her phone vibrated with an urgent buzz, shattering the stillness of the early morning. A chilling message that sent shivers down the spine. From the depths of Mason Reed. Topic. Urgej Sterling stood at the edge of the abyss, the shadows swirling around him like whispers of forgotten secrets. The air crackled with tension, and every heartbeat echoed in the silence, urging him forward into the unknown. What lay ahead was a mystery, a challenge that would test the very limits of his resolve. Protect him at all costs. We have company now, and the shadows no longer linger in silence. Lila glanced at Elias, who lay in slumber, yet the solitude of the night had vanished. A new era had dawned. Now the moment had come to strike back. A new era had dawned. Elias awoke to the soft light of a Tuesday morning, the world outside still cloaked in the remnants of dawn. It began as a whisper, a mere sliver of hazel peeking through the veil of his lashes. Lila was focused on adjusting the oxygen monitor, when a sudden flutter caught her eye. Her breath hitched in her throat. Elias, his eyes fluttered, a fleeting moment of hesitation, then opened wide, revealing the depths within. He had opened his eyes to the world around him. After weeks of silence, his eyes finally locked onto hers, sending a jolt of tension through her chest. He was no longer merely reacting with fingers or breath. His gaze locked onto hers, and in that moment, it felt as though she was truly being seen for the very first time. Tears surged in her eyes, unstoppable and fierce, as the weight of the moment crashed down upon her. "Hey," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence of the dimly lit room. "You're truly back." He attempted to utter a word, but his throat felt parched, as if it had forgotten the art of speech. With a subtle shake of her head, she pressed a finger to her lips, a silent plea for quietude. "Take your time. We'll move at a deliberate pace. In this moment, you are shielded from harm." With gentle hands, she assisted him into an upright position, surrounding him with soft pillows for support. The air was thick with anticipation, each heartbeat echoing the weight of what lay ahead. They had meticulously honed their skills, every detail leading to this pivotal moment. In the depths of the mind, muscle memory awakens, a silent guardian ready to spring into action. Reflex checks pulse through the veins, a dance of instinct and precision. Incremental healing weaves its magic, a slow yet relentless tide that mends the fractures of the past. What they hadn't anticipated was the heavy silence that hung between them now. Not the silence born of fear, but a profound stillness, imbued with something sacred. As the evening shadows deepened, she returned from her shift, a thermos of steaming tea clutched in one hand and a small notebook tucked under her arm. "Hey, thought we might have a conversation," she said, her voice laced with an unspoken urgency. Authentic words this time around. Elias's lips curled into a subtle, almost elusive smile. His voice emerged, rough and fragmented, yet he conjured a single syllable from the depths of his struggle. In the quiet of the afternoon, a steaming cup of tea sat waiting, its fragrant tendrils curling into the air, promising warmth and solace. Each sip held a story, a moment suspended in time, inviting the drinker to lose themselves in its depths. With a melodic laugh, she extended the cup toward him, a spark of mischief dancing in her eyes. They exchanged words in quick, fragmented bursts over the next hour, with him primarily listening, nodding, and allowing himself to rest in the moment. Yet, his gaze remained locked onto hers, unwavering and intense. She revealed the details of the emails exchanged with Mason Reed, the looming presence of his legal team, and how the wheels of fate were already set in motion. "You will reclaim control of your estate once more," she whispered, her voice laced with promise. "And justice, a relentless pursuit that echoes through the shadows, waiting to be unveiled. Just a little longer, and you will find the strength to endure." Elias hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire, waiting to snap. Then, in a hushed whisper, he rasped, "You held on for me?" She nodded, her eyes dropping to the ground, unable to bear the weight of his gaze. A heartbeat lingered in the silence. Shadows crept in, enveloping the room in a thick veil of darkness. Elias's hand inched toward hers, a deliberate movement charged with anticipation. "You saved me," he whispered, his voice trembling with gratitude and disbelief. Lila gasped, a wave of emotion crashing over her, overwhelming and relentless. "At first I was lost," she admitted, her voice trembling with the weight of her revelation. "Deep down, I felt an undeniable certainty. I could never align myself with something so heartless. Yet, as I lingered here with you, immersed in the pages and lost in our conversations, something began to shift within me." She cast her gaze downward. A flicker of concern ignited within me. "It's the essence of the man you are that truly matters, far beyond the wealth or the title you bear. Only you." Elias's gaze deepened with a tender warmth. Lila shook her head, her eyes blinking rapidly as if trying to dispel the weight of the moment. "I understand that it lacks professionalism. Deep down, I understand that uttering these words is forbidden, but I feel it deep within me, a stirring that I can't ignore. I'm falling for you, and it infuriates me that it comes at the most inopportune moment." Her voice trembled, breaking the silence like fragile glass. "You've traversed the depths of despair. Having someone like me around only adds to the chaos." Elias's fingers curled around her hand, a subtle yet firm hold that spoke volumes. "You are the sole thread weaving clarity into this chaotic tapestry." Lila's breath hitched in her throat. His smile flickered, fragile yet genuine. "You kept it simple, without adding any layers of complexity. You resurrected me." With a gentle swipe of her cardigan sleeve, she brushed away the tears that streamed down her cheeks, laughter bubbling up softly amidst the sorrow. "This is absolutely insane," she exclaimed. Tears stream down my face as I think of my patient. "I'm not your patient," he whispered, his voice laced with defiance. It was a finality that echoed in the silence, a declaration that shattered the stillness of the moment. Silence enveloped them once more, but this time it was infused with warmth, akin to a breath held in anticipation between two souls who sensed a profound shift had occurred. The wind whispered through the trees, while the city pulsed with life just beyond the hospital's confines. Within the dimly lit room, Elias and Lila sat intertwined, their fingers clasped together. They were not yet lovers, still nursing their wounds, yet the fear that once held them captive had begun to dissolve, allowing the stirrings of emotion to emerge. The war raged on, yet, in the midst of chaos, they found solace in one another. It was the beginning of an unspoken bond, a connection neither could define, but both were determined to hold on to it fiercely. As dawn broke over the city, it unfolded like a whispered vow, casting a golden glow that hinted at the secrets of the day. Within the opulent confines of Elias's penthouse suite at the exclusive hospital, Lila meticulously dressed him in a tailored gray suit, the first genuine attire he had donned in weeks, marking a pivotal moment in his recovery. Though his body felt frail and his movements sluggish, a fierce clarity burned in his eyes, more intense than ever before. "Are you absolutely certain about this?" Lila inquired, her fingers deftly fastening the cuffs of his shirt, a hint of curiosity lacing her voice. Elias inclined his head, a silent agreement hanging in the air, thick with unspoken tension. No more shadows to retreat into. No more shadows to retreat into. Mason Reed stepped into the room at exactly 9 a.m., flanked by two assistants, each carrying an air of purpose. Behind them, a rolling briefcase trailed, its contents shrouded in mystery, filled with sealed documents that hinted at secrets waiting to be unveiled. The press conference looms on the horizon, scheduled to begin at 10. The hospital's boardroom stands as a fortress of secrecy. Victor and Eleanor will arrive, their presence looming like a storm on the horizon. Elias reclined in his chair, his fingers intertwined, a silent storm brewing within him. "Then let us put on a spectacle they won't soon forget." The boardroom buzzed with anticipation, every seat occupied, the air thick with unspoken tension. In the sterile, fluorescent-lit corridors of the hospital, a tense gathering unfolded. Hospital executives exchanged furtive glances, family members clutched each other's hands in anxious anticipation, and a select group of impeccably dressed reporters stood ready, their pens poised, eager for the exclusive revelation that could alter the course of the Sterling Empire forever. Eleanor stood at the head of the room, exuding an air of composed confidence in her cream blazer, commanding the attention of everyone present. Victor lingered just behind her, a smirk dancing on his lips, barely concealed in the shadows of the moment. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice steady and inviting, drawing everyone in with an unspoken promise of what was to come. "Our family stands at the edge of an abyss, grappling with the weight of Elias's tragic condition, a hardship that words can scarcely capture. Today, we delve into the intricate process of transferring temporary executive control, a pivotal moment that could alter the course of leadership." The heavy double doors creaked open, revealing the unknown beyond. Every gaze shifted, and Elias Sterling entered the room, leaning ever so slightly on a cane, clad in the unmistakable aura of a man who had stared death in the face and emerged victorious. Sharp intakes of breath echoed through the room. The sharp sound of cameras clicking echoed through the air. Victor's face drained of color. Eleanor stood motionless, her heart pounding in her chest. Elias remained silent, his footsteps echoing as he made his way to the heart of the room. With a steady hand pressed against the table, he locked eyes with his stepmother, a silent challenge hanging in the air between them. "I see you've begun without my presence. You stand at the edge of the abyss, the air thick with anticipation. Shadows dance around you, whispering secrets of the unknown. Every heartbeat echoes in your ears as you take a step forward, drawn by an invisible force. The world behind you fades, and the path ahead is shrouded in mystery, beckoning you to uncover its hidden truths. Will you dare to plunge into the depths of the darkness, or will you turn back, forever haunted by the choices left unmade?" "You're awake," Eleanor stammered, her voice trembling with a mix of relief and disbelief. "In the depths of uncertainty, a tale unfolds." Elias lifted his hand, a silent signal that hung in the air, charged with anticipation. "Hold on to it." He pivoted sharply to face the reporters. "For several weeks, I have been acutely aware of my surroundings. Indeed, there was a moment when I slipped into the depths of a coma. As I opened my eyes, a chilling realization washed over me. Something was terribly amiss. Utterly misguided. Mason took a decisive step forward, unfastened the briefcase, and revealed a sleek tablet, its surface gleaming with potential. Elias's gaze flickered to Lila, a shadowy figure lingering at the back of the room, her presence finally breaking through the veil of indifference that surrounded her. In that fleeting moment, their eyes locked, anchoring him in a whirlwind of chaos. With a steady hand, he pressed play. The air crackled with the intensity of Victor and Eleanor's voices, weaving a tapestry of tension and intrigue that enveloped the room. "We must ensure he remains under sedation, no matter the cost. He won't pose a threat for much longer. Once she's gone, we'll submit the DNR." Breathless whispers filled the air. Whispers linger in the air. One executive rose to his feet, while another sank into his chair, a hand pressed tightly over his mouth. Victor struggled to find his voice. That statement has been twisted and misrepresented." Elias's voice sliced through the air, sharp and unyielding. "You made every effort to wipe me from existence, and for a moment, it seemed you would triumph, if not for the intervention of one unexpected soul." He pivoted sharply to face Lila. "Had it not been for the twists of fate, I would not stand here today." Lila stood motionless, the weight of every gaze in the room pressing down on her. Elias pressed on, undeterred by the hushed whispers of strategy swirling around him. She lingered. Her heart was invested. In that moment, she became my lifeline. Eleanor's gaze sharpened, her eyes narrowing with intensity. "So, you found yourself captivated by the nurse?" Elias's gaze pierced through her, icy and unyielding. "No, I made my choice, just as she made hers to stand against your wrongdoing." The board members leaned in closer, their whispers weaving a tapestry of intrigue and uncertainty. Mason stepped into the spotlight, her voice steady yet commanding as she laid bare the impending charges, the looming formal investigations, and the decisive reinstatement of Elias's full authority. Eleanor and Victor slipped out of the room, the weight of their crumbling legacy echoing in the silence that enveloped them. Outside the boardroom, Far from the tumult, Elias pressed his back against the wall, gasping for breath. Lila dashed to his side, urgency propelling her forward. "You did it," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "We accomplished it," he amended. She paused, her gaze sweeping the surroundings, uncertainty gripping her heart. All eyes were upon them. "The truth is out, and it echoes through every corner, leaving no one untouched." His fingers brushed against hers, a silent invitation that hung in the air, charged with unspoken promises. "Good," he murmured, a spark of determination in his eyes. "For I want the world to know the one who rescued me, and the one I wish to stand beside from this moment forward." Her gaze locked onto his, brimming with unspoken emotions. Elias stood at the edge of the world, the weight of his past pressing down like a storm cloud ready to burst. Every breath he took was heavy with unspoken words and untold stories, each one a thread in the intricate tapestry of his life. The horizon stretched before him, a tantalizing promise of what lay ahead. Yet the shadows of his memories loomed large, threatening to pull him back into the depths of despair. With a heart pounding like a war drum, he took a step forward, ready to confront the demons that had haunted him for far too long. Yet, no further words lingered in the air, for the truth had emerged, and at last they were liberated to embrace their reality. Lila slipped away before the applause could wash over her, leaving the echoes of her performance behind like a distant memory. As the boardroom buzzed with hushed voices and the blinding glare of camera flashes, she seized her chance. With a swift, silent movement, she slipped through a side door and into the biting chill of the afternoon air. Her hands trembled violently as she pressed the elevator button, the weight of anticipation hanging heavy in the air. Confront the depths of complexity that lie beyond mere fear. Elias had emerged from the shadows of despair, a testament to resilience. Victory was his at last, and yet, in the dim light of the nurse's locker room, she moved with a hushed urgency, carefully packing her belongings, as the weight of the night pressed down around her. Her thermos sat quietly beside the book she once read aloud, but it was the little leather-bound notebook that held the true weight of her secrets. Within its pages lay every whispered observation, every burning question, and every heartfelt confession she had ever dared to share in the stillness of the night. Believing Elias was lost in slumber, a heavy realization settled in her heart. She understood that her time here had come to an end. She felt the weight of the world pressing down on her, a suffocating reminder that everyone had witnessed him declare her name. The headlines churned relentlessly, twisting her into either a contemporary Florence Nightingale or a scandalous gold digger, and she knew she couldn't remain in the eye of that storm. She was not, either. She found herself caught in a whirlwind of exhaustion and passion, grappling with the uncertainty of how to navigate the tangled emotions that enveloped her. As she turned the key in the lock, the sudden chime of the elevator echoed ominously behind her. Lila. Elias lingered in the shadows, a figure caught between the past and the unknown, his heart racing with anticipation. This time, there was no cane. With each step, he found a newfound steadiness beneath him. He wore a winter coat draped over his suit, the fabric heavy and protective against the biting chill of the season. His weary eyes were fixed intently on hers, a silent battle of emotions unfolding between them. She drew in a breath, sharp and sudden. "It's unwise to wander these streets alone." "I'm not," he declared, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of defiance. "I came to find you," she murmured, her gaze falling to the ground. As I stepped towards the door, a sense of finality washed over me. He edged nearer, the tension crackling in the air between us. I knew I had to arrive at this moment. With a swift motion, he delved into the depths of his coat, retrieving the notebook that held secrets waiting to be unveiled. She stood motionless, her breath caught in her throat. "You left this," he said, his voice laced with a mix of disbelief and urgency. "You really thought I would just leave it hanging, didn't you?" Lila's cheeks burned with a deep crimson hue. "That wasn't meant for anyone," he concluded softly. "I understand." He flipped it open to a page nestled in the heart of the book. "I read this part 5 times, he said, his voice tinged with a mix of disbelief and fascination. "On that fateful night, you confessed your feelings, your voice trembling with fear. You hated the vulnerability it brought, terrified that I would see you through a different lens, one that might shatter the connection we had built." He snapped the notebook shut, his gaze lifting to the world beyond. She fixed her gaze on him, a storm of emotions swirling in her eyes. He insisted, "I didn't fall for the nurse. In the shadows of my existence, I found myself drawn to the one who sat beside me, a beacon of warmth in a world where I felt more like a specter than a living soul. She was the one who dared to believe in my worth, even in the shadows of doubt, when the world seemed oblivious to my existence." Her eyes overflowed with emotion. Elias stood at the edge of the precipice, the wind whipping around him as he gazed into the abyss below. Shadows danced in the fading light, and a sense of foreboding hung in the air. Thick and palpable, he could feel the weight of destiny pressing down on him, urging him forward into the unknown. What lay ahead was shrouded in mystery, but one thing was certain: this was a moment that would change everything. He advanced, his voice a husky whisper, filled with unwavering conviction. "Throughout my life, I've been surrounded by those who adored me for my name, my wealth, and my influence. You were the first to love me without any of that," she said, shaking her head in disbelief. "I didn't mean to," I said, my voice trembling. "I know," he interrupted, his eyes piercing through me, "but I did." The air hung heavy with silence. Delicate. Then, with a gentle urgency, he inquired, "Will you return with me? Not to the hospital, not as a nurse, but simply as your true self." With a sudden release, she exhaled a breath she hadn't known was trapped within her. "And if I say yes, I will dedicate every moment of my life to proving that you chose wisely." Her lips quivered with unspoken emotion. "Okay," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. Then Elias took a step he hadn't dared to take since before the crash. He smiled, and Lila stepped forward into his embrace, surrendering to the steady pulse of their shared reality. It was a truth forged in the quiet moments, crafted day by day, word by word, one heartbeat at a time, because some love stories unfold not with the blaze of fireworks, but in the gentle warmth of connection. Some start in hushed whispers, their voices swelling into a crescendo when we finally dare to pay attention. A year had passed, and the Sterling name now carried a weight of its own, echoing with new significance. The scandal had captivated the nation, dominating headlines for months on end. Elias had opted for silence in the wake of the public revelation, allowing the weight of the evidence and the law to echo in the charged atmosphere around him. The video flickered ominously. The forged documents lay scattered like breadcrumbs, and the witness testimony hung in the air, heavy with implications. It was all more than enough. Eleanor Sterling, the once poised and pristine matriarch of the empire, now found herself confined within the cold, unforgiving walls of a federal women's prison in upstate New York. Whispers of dark intentions filled the air as the charges loomed. Conspiracy to commit attempted manslaughter, a sinister plot of attempted medical fraud, and the chilling act of obstruction of care. Victor, brimming with arrogance and carelessness, had become a target, making the prosecution's task all the more effortless. His correspondence with private doctors, the intricate web of financial manipulation surrounding Sterling hotels, shares, and the chilling recordings of his own threats had woven a tapestry of doom that sealed his fate. 15 long years, locked away without the hope of freedom. Once, their names echoed through the grand halls of black-tie galas, shimmering in the glow of luxury sponsorships. Now, they had faded into silence. They existed as mere whispers in a narrative that had begun its journey toward redemption. Elias had unleashed a torrent of transformation. He withdrew from the relentless grind of the Sterling hotels, turning his attention to a new mission that ignited his passion. The Lila Heart Foundation. This non-profit emerged as a beacon of hope, dedicated to shielding the most vulnerable patients from the shadows of medical abuse and empowering the brave whistleblowers who dared to challenge the dark undercurrents of the healthcare system. Lila had fought against the name initially, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment and her heart racing, but Elias was relentless in his insistence. "You returned my very essence," he whispered to her, his voice trembling with emotion. "Now we embark on a journey to help others discover their own." In the very hospital where Elias had once been held captive, they launched their inaugural pilot program. The irony hung in the air between them, palpable and charged, as the building transformed before their eyes. It radiated warmth and light, not merely from the golden sunlight pouring through the freshly uncovered windows, but from the very essence of what they had forged within its walls. Lila had envisioned a desert retreat, a sanctuary away from the chaos of everyday life. It was neither a spa nor a resort, but a secluded house nestled deep within the canyons of New Mexico, a world away from the city, the weight of legacy, and the treachery of boardrooms. Every few months they ventured into that secluded haven, leaving behind the chaos of the outside world. No cell phones, no prying eyes, just Lila, Elias, and the profound tranquility that enveloped them. As dusk descended, the sun sank into the horizon, casting a fiery glow across the sky. They ventured up a winding trail that snaked behind the house, each step filled with anticipation. Lila's laughter echoed through the air as Elias feigned exhaustion, his dramatic antics drawing her in deeper. "You own hotels in 5 countries, she teased, a playful glint in her eyes, "and yet here you are, breathless after just 15 minutes of walking." "I nearly met my end," he said with a grin. "Give me a break. Give me a break." At the pinnacle of the trail lay a vast overlook, unfurling like a canvas for miles on end. Elias's hand slipped into the depths of his coat, a sense of anticipation coursing through him. Lila spun around at the precise moment he sank to one knee, her breath hitching in her throat. The ring exuded an understated elegance, a band of rose gold encircling a smooth stone of desert jasper. It gleamed with a polished finish, untouched by harsh cuts, radiating warmth and a sense of nature, much like her essence. "I want to propose in a place that whispers secrets," he said, his eyes glinting with memories. "A place like where I rediscovered myself, where I discovered you." Her eyes brimmed with unshed tears, a storm of emotions threatening to spill over. With a steady hand, he extended the ring, its surface glinting in the light, a promise of destiny waiting to unfold. "Lila Hart, you didn't merely rescue me, you salvaged everything. My life, my identity, my very hope. Will you take my hand in marriage, not for the wealth, not for the care, but simply for who I am?" She fell to her knees, her arms encircling him tightly. "Indeed," she murmured, an unwavering yes that echoed in the silence. In the secluded garden behind the First Foundation Clinic, they exchanged vows, enveloped by the warmth of loved ones, family, chosen family, and those whose lives they had touched. No press, no cameras, just an intimate gathering where love blossomed amidst the fragrant blooms. As the ceremony drew to a close, Lila's gaze swept over the crowd, and then it froze, her heart stuttering at the sight that pierced through the sea of faces. A young girl in scrubs, her small hand clasped tightly with that of an older woman, both faces illuminated by bittersweet smiles, tears glistening in their eyes. Once, a girl reached out to the foundation with a haunting message. "I'm scared to speak, but I think something's wrong in my hospital." Now she was applying to nursing school, driven by Lila's unwavering spirit, Elias's quiet strength, and the love forged not in perfection, but in relentless determination. Under the cloak of night, Elias and Lila found themselves on a weathered wooden bench, their fingers intertwined. The courtyard before them pulsed with life, laughter dancing beneath the soft glow of lanterns swaying gently from tree to tree. In a moment of quiet intimacy, Elias leaned his head against hers, enveloped in the warmth of the evening. Will they ever be able to erase the haunting memories of that day? Her lips curled into a smile, a flicker of warmth in the dim light. "Perhaps." He pivoted toward her, his gaze intense and searching. "Are you willing to let them?" "No," she declared, her voice cutting through the silence like a knife. "Not if it stirs within them the belief that good souls still walk among us, that truth can emerge victorious, and that love can endure even the deepest of betrayals." Elias pressed his lips gently to her forehead, and as the stars began to twinkle in the vast night sky, they found solace in each other's presence. In that moment, they were stripped of labels, no longer survivors, headlines, heirs, or heroes. They were simply two souls intertwined, at last complete, liberated, and truly home. In the stillness of silence, healing often takes its first breath. Love, too, finds its roots in the fertile ground of trust. Yet, perhaps the most courageous act of all is to hold on to faith in another, even when the world has turned its back and walked away. In the heart of Elias and Lila's tale lies a profound truth. No force of power, no treasure of wealth, and no act of betrayal can ever eclipse the enduring light of compassion's quiet strength. That truth, no matter how deeply buried, has a way of clawing its way back to the surface, propelled by the brave souls who dare to care. If this tale touched your heart, ignited your spirit, or brought to light the profound strength of forgiveness, we invite you to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and above all, subscribe to soul-stirring stories for more captivating emotional journeys just like this one. In this space, we weave tales that mend the soul, narratives that elevate the spirit, and chronicles that awaken the essence of our humanity. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and always keep in mind, even in the stillness, love has a voice that resonates.